Engineering optional? Let's find out. Welcome to the episode. All right, guys, so engineering came back in 2022 as a new thing that we all hated, or I personally did, and thought was a stupid idea. They didn't drop it. They've just continued on with it since, because it's CIG. So guys, through the course of the video, I want you to feedback. I want you to tell me your opinions on engineering as well as hacking gameplay, which we'll get to later on in the video as well. All right, so let's get started. Okay, guys, so to get started with, we're just going to start off with the brief video for engineering back in 2022.
What is your role as an engineer? You, as the engineer, are responsible for the resource management of your ship, the priorities of the items, and you are also responsible for countering any dangers that you might encounter throughout your flight. A big part of your job as an engineer is dealing with dangers that affect the mechanical parts of your ship and are different to the ones you would face as a pilot. There are three types of dangers that you will face as an engineer. One being something that you already know, which is overheating. The second being wear and tear. And the third one being malfunctions. So overheating is not only items running too hot, but it also is item running too cold. And the way that you can counter that is either actively or passively, where passively is something that we already do with the cooler on your ship, and actively being something like you standing in front of the item and using your fire extinguisher to bring down the temperature of the item. And if it's too cold, you can use a flamethrower or blowtorch. So wear and tear is a danger you might have already heard us talk about in the past. It's just something that the longer your item runs, the less efficient it will be at some point. So a general maintenance will be required to keep them up and running. And then there is the new one, which we call malfunctions, which we'll talk about later in more detail. But the way that you react as the engineer there is unique to each malfunction. All three dangers contribute to the health of the item and have an impact on each other. So since the first two are quite easy to grasp, let's dive a bit deeper into the malfunctions. Different items in different situations cause different errors. And while I can't talk about all of them today, here are some currently in development. There's disconnect, where you either don't have a relay right now in the place, or you don't have the item right now at the item port. Then there is power drop, where the required amount of power doesn't reach the item. Then there is misfire, where wear and tear impacts the functionality of your item. Then there is cloggage, where resources are prevented from reaching your item. There's also power surge, where high energy reaches your item and will negatively affect the function of the item. And then there is leakage, which is similar to cloggage, where resources won't reach your item, but the cause is a little bit different. Then we have unresponsive, where you as the engineer try to communicate certain changes on the item and they will not reach the item. There is bugged, where we have the most experience with being creative, so be surprised for what comes your way. And then lastly, we have destroyed, where you just lost your item. Bug can also be caused by hacking or being tuned incorrectly.
Hey!
Why do we introduce malfunctions? The reason is quite simple. It's something that you know from your real life. Like after a while, certain things start to malfunction. So you better pay attention to those malfunctions and know how to react to those. So your job as an engineer is preventing those malfunctioning from actually happening, or preventing the dangers that they create on your ship. And if you don't react in time, you might end up with cascading of errors that will in the end lead to the failure of your ship. It allows us to have the engineer being as important on bigger ships like the pilot or the gunner. We want to make sure that there's plenty of things to do for you as an engineer. Your job as the engineer is also understanding the items. And that means you have to understand the different states an item can be in. States are basically stages for the items inside your ship, where each item has its individual stages or states it can be in. Where, for example, you can have items that have a boot up phase. Then they have that is followed by an ignition phase, where you have to ignite something so that it is going into the idle state, where it is basically waiting to go into the active state, where it starts to produce the resources that you actually need. Then from that active state, it will probably, or some items might go into the prime state, where you have to fire something out. Example is here an EMP. That can then go into a cooldown state, where you basically have to wait for the item to cool down again and then to be restarted or turned off. This adds a new level of complexity to you as the engineer, where you not only have to pay attention to the dangers, the malfunctions when they appear or where they appear. It's also important on which item they appear and in which state the item currently is. Because depending on the state the item currently is where the malfunction happens, it might end up you having to switch the item to a different state to be able to fix the malfunction or counter the malfunction, or even turn off the item completely because the current state requires you to restart the item completely. And yes, for some things it is as simple as turning them off and on again. All of this we do to make the engineering gameplay more engaging. We still want to allow players to maintain their ships on their own, but especially for bigger ships, we really want to introduce meaningful interactions so that you decide to have several engineers on your ship. And for that, we introduced the 3 types of hats that you can wear as an engineer. The 3 basic engineering types are tuner, mechanic, and manager. So the tuner is the person that is responsible for your strategic decisions. The tuner is responsible for setting up the items in advance depending on what you want to achieve with your ship. So if you want to go exploring, you ask the tuner to bring the items into a state that they are less prone to wear and tear, that they sustain longer, that they can or are more energy efficient or resource efficient. The tuner defines item groups, base resource consumptions, responsibilities or roles on your ship, as well as setting new min and max performances for all the ship items you have. So overall, the tuner is a very proactive role, where we want to reward players who plan their crew activities in advance. We did plan the tuner to be more relevant in advance of your adventures, but I'm sure players will figure out ways to make use of the tuner in various scenarios. The next hat you wear as an engineer is the mechanic. The mechanic plays into your fantasy of what you imagine when you think about sci-fi and the role as an engineer. It's like, in Star Trek terms, the person running around or crawling through the Jeffries tubes to fix any item. Or in Star Wars terms, Chewbacca handing you the Hydro Spanner to fix up the Millennium Falcon. You are responsible for fixing fuses, figuring out what the details of the malfunctions are. You are analyzing the situation on site. So you're going through all the rooms, finding the item that you were just called out on that needs maintenance, needs repair. Depending on the item or the situation, you as the mechanic have to react individually to it, which can be a minigame-like character where you have to fix something that is unique to the malfunction that you are facing. The manager uses the engineering screen to analyze your state of the ship, and they dispatch mechanics or the tuner where need arises, and can even assist with fixing certain malfunctions. They manage the resource consumption via the presets the tuner prepared or manually controlling the resource distribution, and they work together with the bridge crew to ensure a successful operation of your ship. I'm really happy that I'm actually sitting here and explaining you all the things that I just described to you, because the entire process that we had to went through was daunting, to say the least, because we are touching so many bases with so many teams. So it's a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, a lot of different opinions of what the engineer should be. And now we have it written down, we have it nailed down. We know what we want, we have defined goals, what the gameplay actually should be about, and everyone agrees. So that allows us now to move forward fast and deliver the feature that we all have been waiting for. You, me, everyone, like Jared. It's something that we are really looking forward to, how it will play out, how you as a player will interact with the entire system, what you like, where you will bring your ships that you own and what you can make out of them. How different they will actually feel to what they are right now in terms of stock versus you have the perfectly tuned ship for your demands. And this might come sooner than you think. This is the good news about it, because it all ties in with all the resource network work or resource management work that we have been doing so far. We are really excited to work on it right now. So it is in active development, and I don't want to do any promises when you will see it, but we are doing our very best that you will be able to try it out sooner than later.
All right, so now you've watched the original concept of what engineering is, let's move into something a little bit more spicy, where engineering and hacking gameplay cross paths, and to look further into overclocking of engine components, as well as a few other things that are quite important to your decisions you make in relation to how you want to run your ship. If you want to overclock like a computer, overclock your ship to get better performance, better shields, better weapons management, and the detriment to actually doing that by burning stuff out really quick. And that will be a thing. So engineering optional at this stage, guys? What do you think? Please tell me in the comments, as I don't think it's optional at all. I think it's going to be a real pain in the ass. Otherwise, it's going to be an expensive pain in the ass, because you're going to have to hire NPCs to constantly man your ship to keep it under control and managed. The tweaker, for example, the engineer, as well as the repair guy. I'm not impressed. It's something that I really think is going to cause a lot of backlash from the community, including myself, because it's taking away from your immersion, your time spent playing the game, where micromanagement is becoming a thing, and it's stupid, in my opinion. If you have a different opinion, please explain to me in great detail why in the comments, and how it's maybe your gameplay loop, or you see it as something different to what I see it as. I'd really love your feedback, guys, because you know, if you guys engage with me, I can engage better with you in the comment section and in future videos. Anyway, let's watch the next part.
Can somebody sneak into a ship? Now, we talked about the different roles and stuff like this. Let's talk about sabotage, like reverse engineering, if you will. Using engineering offensively.
Yeah.
You know, is there going to be opportunities for players to sneak on board ships and use the tools of engineering offensively?
Yes. Yes.
You want to elaborate on that at all?
I can elaborate on that, yes. So we want to tie it in with a hacking gameplay. So that's one fact, that we want to allow you to hook yourself into one of the items and then get even access to, like, imagine yourself, you being the aggressor on the ship, you plug yourself into the power plant. If you don't want to, well, there's the option you physically damage it, so you might punch it or use hammer with a wrench on it, or use a beam to destroy it.
We love our beams.
Yeah, that's all about beams. And then, or you are the more digital assassin of the ship, where you just plug yourself in and go through the hacking gameplay. And then once you succeed, you get basically you get access to the states, what we talked about for the item. So you can switch around the states of the item and mess up your ship. But what you can also do is you can decide to ignore the item and progress further through the ship. So you basically move from node to node inside the ship. So once you successfully hack this power plant, you will see all the connected items that you can then select and start the next hacking procedure. And then you can make your way to whatever item you actually wanted to target and then change its functionality. Turn it off or vent a room if you want to target the life support, or every functionality that you see on the engineering screen would be accessible through that hacking process.
I think chat's going out like hacking. Yes, hacking has been in the cards for Star Citizen, for the Persistent Universe, and for Squadron 42 for some time. Intrepid viewers of the public roadmap might remember there was a hacking card on the public roadmap for quite a while. We actually had going back to our conversation just before the show starts, we actually had filmed a segment for ISC way back when, detailing how hacking was going to work and what was that, and it was filmed and it was edited, and then somebody had a great idea about how to change it. Yeah. And it fundamentally changed. It's like, no, we're going to go this way, and everything in that segment became wrong. So it's one of the few segments we've ever produced that never got aired and whatnot. It happens a while. You know, the only constant in game development is change. It affects our video production as well. But no, when there is we already know the time and the place where we're going to reintroduce folks to hacking gameplay and how it's going to manifest and stuff. So stay tuned. No other updates about that just yet. One of the other curiosities that came out of the show, flamethrowers.
Yeah, it's a thing. You have to know.
Okay, were you being serious when you mentioned flamethrowers? Were you joking?
It was a joke. I'm very bad with jokes. I'm German.
Yeah, and the flamethrower that folks saw in the show was literally I don't remember which rifle, but Will and Dave took the rifle and added flame to it to do the thing. So you're not actually looking at
not even
shooting a flamethrower at a power supply.
Yeah, the blowtorch was also an ejaculation there. So it's more like you can bring up the heat of the room with life support and stuff like that. So you might have more non-violent ways of bringing up the temperature if needed.
Yeah. Now that's not to say that flamethrowers won't make it into the game. The actor feature team is very keen on putting flamethrowers in. We're just saying that. I'm sorry.
And I'm not saying that they wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's just
so they might damage it,
they're
but
not an intentional part of engineer gameplay, and they're not soon.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, though, exploding toilets.
It actually is now on our list.
It is?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Look into that camera and tell them that exploding toilets is actually on our list now.
Yeah, the exploding toilet is on our list now.
Because you saw it in the show and it was awesome, huh?
Yes.
I should just stop the show right there. See if we have any more questions from the chat. So let's recount the basics. Engineer gameplay is a totally optional or mostly optional profession, like mining and salvaging. You can do many activities in the persistent universe without diving particularly deep into it if that's not your particular cup of tea. You'll be able to take your ship back to repair stations or service stations and get the work done automatically as needed. It is there should you wish to take your space experience further, getting more performance out of your vehicles, getting more performance out of your capabilities out of your spacecraft, and being able to stay out in the far reaches of unexplored systems and stuff like that longer without having to come back and check in and repair. Flamethrowers are still on the wish list for the actor feature team, not necessarily a distinct part of engineering. Exploding toilets are the new cornerstone of engineering in all engineering gameplay.
I won't go that far.
We'll be basically around just trying to keep the toilets in your ships from exploding. That's why we put bathrooms and toilets on every ship. That's why Drake's ships are the best. They're the only ones that aren't going to have the exploding toilets.
All right, so just to wrap everything up, guys, look, we are looking at engineering becoming a permanent part of the game, ship components, thrusters, armor, different components like engines, weapon systems, shields, coolers. Everything's going to burn out at some stage, and it's going to burn out at the worst possible time, as we all know, right? Because Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will go wrong at the worst time. So, guys, for you explorers, for example, it's going to be a big problem because, one, the cost, and we discussed that in the last video. It's another reason why I also brought up how imperative getting rep is right now in the last video because of this, right? Guys, I build a case and a case on a case to give you guys as much accurate information as possible in my videos. I want you to understand the steps prior to the next video for my reasoning as well. So please, if you watch my videos, always wait for the next one to get comparative information to go, oh, that's why, yeah? I want you guys to be constantly thinking and evolving mentally of how you're going to actually approach this in 1.1 and afterwards, especially once we start getting more solar systems outside of the new 3. It's going to be more of a micromanagement situation, unfortunately. So this is another reason why I want to get Salvation's Hope up and running. So there are space stations galore through a massive intergalactic trade route from one side of the galaxy to the other to be able to offset this garbage gameplay loop and to make your fun experience fun, not a time-wasting time management thing or an expensive one where you're paying NPCs to keep your ship alive just to get from A to B. I think it's a stupid gameplay loop myself, but that's just me. As I said, feedback in the comments on that. Hacking gameplay loop. Okay, so that's in line with maybe something that I might be doing in the game for my gameplay loop. Don't tell anybody. All right, so yeah, I will be doing a lot of the espionage gameplay, infiltration onto ships and things like that, not to kill players, but to steal data, steal blueprints, steal information that is going to be beneficial for us and our corporation to grow, a passive and non-aggressive manner to help support all of you with your ship parts, with your weapons, your armor, your fueling, your accommodations, your food preferences, everything. But in any corporation, we need the information. We need the data to be able to make those decisions as well. And obviously the technology to build you tier 5 ships of all sizes, including the Dreadnought. So guys, I will put out a bit of a shameless promotion here, or a shameful one, depends on how you see it. We need members left, right and center. We want to be able to be the largest corporation in the game, offering you guys a massive variety of services. Yes, we're an arms dealer right now because there's no other game mechanics in for what we really are going to be doing. But we need cargo, mining, salvage, mercs, PMC, security escort, obviously flyboys. We need everyone to be able to create a corporate business that is there to help you guys in-game. So we're not there to become part of Armadial battles and all that crap. If we have facilities for you to participate in that, no problems, no holding you back. We want people to have primary, secondary and tertiary positions that they want to do too. We want to be able to give people flexibility and an open opportunity, and most importantly, a salary, a retainer. So if you're having a bad week or you're unable to get on for the week because of life, we're going to be able to pay you some money to keep your head above water at the very worst, or help add money to your bank account in-game to be able to buy another ship before we get the ship forges, before we do all the ship manufacturing ourselves. So if you could send some interest, that'd be great. There is no major commitments at this stage. At the moment, we're just doing the basics, but in future, we're going to need a lot of numbers to be able to create the environment and obviously protect it from any bad actors, to make sure that everybody else has an excellent gameplay experience. And this is for PvP and PvE players. So yes, PvP players, you want to come into the shipping lanes and you need to fix your ship or refuel or accommodate or get weapons, armor, whatever you need, we're going to be able to provide that on this series of space stations through to our end location in the Asperia system, Jalan, where we will be running our chip forges for everything as well as fueling and everything like that. We're going to have a bunch of planets on the way where we're going to obviously have outposts to feed the space stations with food, water, weapons, etc., blah, 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 as well. So we need boots on the ground, we need boots in space, and we need people to join us to help create the player economy to benefit all of us as a group together to help everyone else enjoy the game too. So if you're keen on something like that where you receive a weekly retainer, you'll always have money in your bank. If you get into the worst possible situation possible, we'll bail you out. We just want to create an environment where everyone can have fun. So if you want to have battles, yeah, sure, buy a ship from us, buy a bloody dreadnought if you like. But at the same time, we're not going to be a party to any one organisation or group. We're there to just facilitate the services for your needs and your interests in the game. All right, guys, so look, Star Citizen is heading towards 1.0 quite quickly. 27, 28, probably mid-28, we'll see 1.0 release. In the meantime, we've got Squadron 42 coming out at the end of next year. I'm being very realistic about the Squadron 42 release, as well as things like engineering gameplay just around the corner. And we've got also the hacking gameplay where you can break ships from inside without having to kill anybody. And then you can disable that ship and then send a boarding party in as a security force without having to kill anybody, especially in Stanton or Terra or Castra, where it's UEE space. And you can then get away without committing a crime stat. Yeah, you can steal what you need to steal, whether it's cargo, it's armor, it's weapons, it's bounty, right? You can arrest somebody properly and put them onto your ship and actually take them in without getting crime stats. So engineering is not just going to be for fixing ships and keeping ships running, it's going to be used in an offensive manner as well. So get prepared, guys, because as you can see behind me, the different functionalities of the Grey Cat multi-tools as well. It's going to get pretty interesting. I think the game mechanic itself, outside of the hacking side of it and being able to use engineering assertively, is dumb in a lot of ways, but that's my personal perspective on the gameplay loop. I believe it's just going to get expensive with NPCs and be a problem. Please tell me what you think and how you're going to move forward with doing the gameplay loop itself, yeah? The more we talk about stuff like this, the more we can all start playing together. All right, guys, so that's the video. I hope you've had some time to think about this from the last video, and also now understand why also rep is so freaking important for you to have done before 1.0. 1, getting out of Stanton. 2, the cost of running your ship. You're gonna need money to pay NPCs. Oh, by the way, if you are playing engineering gameplay loop specifically, I would absolutely love to talk to you in Discord to understand what your plans are, to understand what type of ships you want to run on, how it's all going to work for you, because that's really important too. And also give me an insight further into our community to understand where everyone's going. All right, guys, I'm CTT, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out. Cheers.